Hey folks, Nate Gilman here from MMC, the first software that makes getting your Merchant Mariner credential super simple. We're really lucky this week. We have Captain Elizabeth Simenstad, the CEO and founder of Sea Sisters. Welcome, Captain Simenstad. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Um,
Our mission statement, our motto is we are dedicated, a nonprofit dedicated to promoting the recruitment and retention of women in the maritime industry. So really, in one sentence, that is exactly what we're all about. And so we do that by telling stories. We do that by creating networks where women can connect. And we do that by supporting women who are in the industry now, as well as finding ways to recruit young women or any women to come into the industry. And so we help them, we get them the tools that they need to learn how to get into the industry. That includes licensing, credentialing, education, and um, and then supporting them once they're in the industry to maintain retention so that they don't drop out. Because we see such high attrition in the industry of women who, there's a larger number of younger women who come in, but a lot of them just don't stay for a variety of reasons. And with Sea Sisters, we're just working on some projects, including a scholarship where we partner with MyTags to give away classes for basic safety training and advanced firefighting for newcomers to the industry, and always working on funding projects and new merchandise and looking for new ways to help connect women in the maritime industry. My father was a mariner. He was a pilot, and I actually didn't know much about it. He didn't really want me to follow in his footsteps, so I didn't know much about it until after college. But I went to University of Washington. I got a bachelor's degree in European studies, and I went back to the Bay Area, and I ended up getting a job because actually my dad kind of pointed this out, said you could do this cool job where you get to board ships. So I was a ship agent for 2 years. And that was super fun, super challenging, really taxing hours and not enough pay. So I did that for 2 years, formed quite a network because you get to interact with everybody in the industry on that waterfront, right? You have to talk to everyone and coordinate the ship's port call from start to finish. So I did that for a couple of years and it was fun, but I was like, I don't want to sit at a desk. I want to be on the water. I want to be a pilot. And so the way to get there for me, I didn't really want to work on a ship. I'd rather work on tugs just because they're kind of smaller, more fun. To me, ships are great too. But I also didn't want to go to the Maritime Academy because I'd already been to college. And so I ended up going to PMI in Seattle, Pacific Maritime Institute, which is now MyTags West because it's been fully incorporated into MyTags. So I went to PMI. I was a cadet for FOSS. I worked there for about 2.5 years as a cadet, OS. I got my AB and I got my mate's license. So I got my 1,600-ton near coastal mate. And then I got a job at Crowley, towing triple deck ro-ro barges from Jacksonville to Puerto Rico. Did that for a year and a half, worked really hard. 2 years, I can't remember. Anyway, it was super fun. Upgraded my license to 1,600-ton master oceans. And then decided to transfer within Crowley to Valdez. So I worked up in Valdez in that tanker escort assist fleet for a couple of years. Really fun. I made it to chief mate, and then I ended up finally getting a job. When they lost the contract to Schwest up in Valdez, I just said, okay, I don't want to wait until the end of the contract. So I got a job with Bay Delta as a deckhand. You have to start as a deckhand. So a couple of years of being a deckhand, I worked my way up from deckhand to engineer and now to mate. And it's been over 4 years as of last fall. So we're going on 4 years at Bay Delta, 4.5 years. But 11 years all told, a little over 11 years now on tugs. Yeah, I mean, just the water, the ocean, the bays, rivers. I love the water. I love being on the water. It's the only place where I want to work. I've thought about other, I've thought about it. Like sometimes when it's the middle of the night and I'm exhausted and I hate my life, I'm like, do I want to do anything else? And the answer is usually no. even when it's really hard, I really love it. So yeah, to be on the water and to feel it and to smell it and how beautiful it is out there, that's just really what always makes me return. Yeah. Gosh, there's a lot, there's a lot I would say. I think to young women, um, with regard to workplace interactions, there's always a potential for inappropriate comments or harassment. And I would say learn, be clear about your own boundaries and don't be afraid to speak up when someone says something that's inappropriate. Sometimes people will say things and you'll be like, okay, that doesn't bother me, I'm not going to let it bother me. But sometimes there's a point where people may cross the line, and you have to think to yourself, like, is that something I need to speak up about, or is that something I'm willing to let slide? So I think it took me a long time to kind of advocate for myself and speak up when things really bothered me. And so you have to be tough. You really do have to have a thick skin. Sometimes things aren't, you got to pick your battles. Have a thick skin, pick your battles, because sometimes things aren't really worth the trouble and the drama. Other times, you do need to say something and put your foot down. 14, and I had been working down in Jacksonville for a year and a half, and the air conditioning broke, and it was June in the Bahamas. So it was like the compressor was like out of balance, and it was shaking so bad, and because it's like running, so it's shaking so bad it broke the soldering in the pipes that held the coolant, the refrigerant. So it broke, it rattled itself apart, and it broke the pipes, and all this R22 leaked out and it down into the forepeak of the boat, and it was like this fog. And so we didn't have air conditioning for like almost, I guess it was middle of the week. So we had like 4 days with no AC, and it was hell. It was like 120 degrees inside the boat, because you're sitting on two 20-cylinder EMDs, and you're just like roasting, and it's like already 100 degrees outside. There's no wind because we have a following wind. It's blowing like all of our vent gases down into my room, which is down in the forepeak. And so I took my entire mattress and I dragged it outside, and I put it in front of the wheelhouse, and I slept outside for like 4 days. So I was sleeping outside. I was on the 12 to 4, so I had to get up at midnight, stand the 12 to 4 watch, go to bed at 4 in the morning outside, and then wake up like when the sun came up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I was getting like 4 hours of sleep, and then I was getting maybe like 2 or 3 at night before my watch. When the sun went down until midnight, it was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. It's really cool to hear your kind of wisdom and knowledge. Again, I'm Nate from MMCs. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.